All right, on to our next speaker. Most of you know this next speaker, this guy, this friend of ours. He makes you smile, he makes you laugh, but he can also burn you up if you get in his way. Gerry Connolly was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives last year. As a freshman member of Congress, he serves in the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, House Committee on Oversight and Reform, and the House Committee on Budget. During his 9 months on Capitol Hill, Gerry has earned a reputation as an expert on matters affecting local and state governments. He's also been on CNN, believe it or not. I saw him on Eastern Shore on CNN, so he's getting famous up there. Gerry served 14 years on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, the last 5 as chairman. As chairman, he oversaw an annual budget of $4.5 billion and the 12th largest school system, the 6th largest office market in the nation. He was VACo president in 2005. I also want to thank Gerry for introducing the Restore and Partnership Act. The bill is supported by NACO and VACo, and as the name implies, is intended to formally facilitate cooperation between the federal, state, and local levels of government. Also, it is my pleasure to announce, and I was very pleased, that when I visited Fairfax, I made an effort to get there while Gerry was still the chairman. It was very important for me to do that, and I want you to know that, Gerry, that it was very important for me to be there with you. It is my pleasure to introduce a true friend of local government, and my friend personally, the one, the only, Gerry Connolly.
Thank you so much, Don. Looking at all the empty seats, the gathered word of my speech has spread. But it's great to be back at the homestead. I think this is my 15th, okay? I think it's my 15th, maybe. Time for the homestead here at VACo. And as Don said, I served on the Fairfax board for 14 years. And most of that time here on the VACo board as well, and it was a great honor to be president of this organization. I really knew that I had been demoted when I got to Congress. Some of you may know my predecessor, Tom Davis. He of course is a Republican, I'm a Democrat, but we had a very positive and cordial transition. And he was willing to put my chief of staff on his payroll early so that he could sort of jump ahead and understand the ropes in Congress. And I hired several of his staffers to stay on with me after I got sworn in, and it couldn't have been a more cordial and gracious transition the way it ought to work. And but there were a few loose ends he wanted to tie up before I got sworn in, and he left. And so he called me one Sunday and said, "How about we have breakfast and tie up those loose ends?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be glad to do it." So I said, "Where would you like to do it?" He said, "How about the Denny's in Fairfax City?" I said, "Yes, I know where that is. I live nearby there, so no problem." So we meet for breakfast. About 45 minutes goes by, and the waitress is kind of walking back and forth, prowling back and forth. And she's got that look on her face like she's a little too shy to say, "Aren't you?" So Tom and I get ready to go, "Well, yeah." Instead, she comes over, looks at her watch, and says, "You've been here 45 minutes. I make tips by moving tables." I said, "Tom, you have been 5 minutes a former congressman, and I have been 5 minutes a new congressman. We've both been kicked out of Denny's." Never happened when I was on the board of supervisors. So, anyway, but I do think that local government is, in many ways, the highest form of government, because that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where you have to deliver. You're the ones who get the calls when the water main breaks, when the schools need to be improved, when the recycling doesn't get picked up, and when potholes need to be filled. You have to deliver. During my days in local government, I was proud to stand with you in our annual battles with the Virginia General Assembly to retain control of local land use and push the Commonwealth to fulfill its funding obligations to assist local governments, particularly with respect to education, public safety, and transportation. I continue passionately to hold that view today. That's why I supported expanding the COPS program in the federal government. to protect communities. I've worked to improve the lack of funding and ownership requirements of No Child Left Behind. And if that law doesn't get fixed, I'm going to vote against the tree authorization, by the way, because it's an unfunded federal mandate in local governments. And I've introduced legislation to help localities in this economic crisis be able to access credit on the bond markets. Because for many of us in this room, local governments, we have found that the bond market is just dried up in our ability to access credit to finance capital projects. Let me share with you, and Teresa alluded to it, an initiative in which I've been working with VACo, which is legislation to meet the call to restore the partnership campaign and revive the National Committee on Intergovernmental Relations. I think that commission is really important. It existed for more than 30 years, but it was terminated by Congress in 1995. And I have to tell you, as a new member of Congress, and I hope Goodlatte would agree with me on a bipartisan basis, that perspective about what does local government do and how does it do it is needed now more than ever. I can give you myriad examples, but I think I was in Congress only 2 weeks when a colleague got up on the floor and in referring to local governments said, they got themselves in this mess, they can get themselves out of it. And I went over to that congresswoman and I said, you really think local governments are responsible for the economic mess we're in? Well, they spend their means. I said, actually, they don't. As a matter of fact, most of them either constitutionally or by statute have to balance their budget, unlike us here. And I said, do you live in a county? Well, yes, I do. I said, well, what about your sheriff's department and your firefighters and your teachers and your public works employees? You're gonna let them wallow. They're gonna have to lay off many of those people through no fault of their own. But the attitude toward local government really struck me. The misinformation about local government, when we were debating the stimulus bill, on the Senate side, there were senators who said, on the House side, we had funds for school construction for local governments. And it got taken out in the Senate, and ultimately taken out in the final bill, unfortunately, frankly because of misinformation. The Senate asserted that it was unprecedented for the federal government to ever build a school. This had never happened. And I was at a meeting of my own party where a member from California repeated it. And I got up, it was my first time ever addressing the caucus, I said, really? Because that would come as a real surprise to my constituents in Mount Vernon District, just a stone's throw from George Washington's house, where Mount Vernon High School was built with federal money. And I did a little checking. So were 2,000 other schools throughout the United States. But for that, you're right. It's unprecedented. But think about what I'm telling you. Decisions get made based on A, kind of a sour attitude about local government, and B, a lot of misinformation. Because a lot of legislators, frankly, move up from state legislators. They don't move up from local government. And it's actually it's a small band, but an intrepid band. Those of us who were there from local government. And so I think really we need this intergovernmental commission more than ever, so that we're trying to make sure that not only is there a dialogue, but there's accurate